Have you ever felt like you're chasing happiness, only to find it's always just out of reach? Today, we're uncovering a life-changing secret that flips everything you thought you knew about true joy on its head. Follow the captivating story of Mark, a man who seemingly had it all, but still felt something deeply missing in his life. His quest reveals how simple yet profound practices like gratitude, acceptance, and unconditional love can dramatically transform your daily experiences. Get ready for surprising insights backed by ancient Stoic wisdom and modern psychology, specifically tailored for our fast-paced American lifestyles. Curious about the twist that finally brought Mark lasting happiness? Stay tuned until the end of the video. It's something you'll want to apply immediately. And hey, if you're inspired by powerful stories that can genuinely change your life, hit subscribe and join our community. Your support helps us deliver even more incredible journeys right to your screen. In modern society, it seems that nearly every advertisement, social media post, and 24/7 news cycle reminds us of the countless things we still do not have. Material goods, career achievements, aesthetic ideals, or social connections. The result is that many people spend their days convinced that true happiness sits just beyond the next goal, the next purchase, or the next promotion. Yet that feeling of restlessness persists, suggesting that we may never fully arrive at a destination marked contentment. The pursuit of well-being is not new. Our ancient predecessors grappled with the same questions we do now. One influential school of thought that tackled these concerns head-on was Stoicism, originated by philosophers in ancient Greece and later developed in Rome. Notably, practitioners like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius offered ideas on how to live well amid life's inevitable chaos. According to their teachings, external achievements and possessions, while useful to an extent, cannot wholly define or guarantee happiness. Instead, joy arises from our internal capacity to perceive life's events through the lens of wisdom, patience, and virtue. A simple illustration of this principle appears in the story of a young man named Mark, who resided in a valley where most of his material needs were met. Though everyone around him assumed he was the epitome of prosperity, Mark felt a persistent internal void. Eager to address this emptiness, he journeyed to the modest cabin of a wise old man who, after a long conversation, gifted him with 3 simple yet transformative pieces of guidance: gratitude, acceptance, and love. Gratitude involves recognizing the value of what we already possess, tangible or intangible. Acceptance reminds us of the limits of our control, allowing us to let go of the desire to micromanage every outcome. Finally, love in its broadest sense includes love for oneself, the people in one's life, and the inherent worth of existence itself. To Mark's surprise, applying these virtues led to a far deeper sense of fulfillment than anything he could buy or display outwardly. These ideas resonate strongly with contemporary psychology, which similarly underscores the importance of mindset and healthy emotional strategies for achieving genuine well-being. Key principles include emotional regulation, mindful awareness, and community involvement, all of which mirror Stoic insights. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius argued that we control our judgments, our own thoughts and reactions, while we do not always control the outcomes or what happens outside us. Modern mental health research likewise indicates that focusing on what is within your sphere of influence rather than fixating on external uncontrollables fosters resilience and long-term happiness. Whether you call it mindset or character, the concept remains the same. How you interpret and respond to life's events holds enormous power over your mental state. What follows in this article is a series of practical suggestions merging Stoic philosophy with current psychological findings. The core idea is that these small daily practices, spanning from laughing more frequently to consciously turning off our phones, cumulatively shape our emotional landscape. In this part 1, we will delve into 4 foundational habits. Laugh more, get outside, and connect with nature. Be a morning person and pack your days with plans. Through these practices, you can begin crafting a lifestyle that is open-hearted, perspective-driven, and better equipped to handle life's inevitable ups and downs. Before exploring the first lesson, why laughter matters, it is helpful to understand the broader Stoic principle that underlies these practices. Stoicism draws a line between what lies within our control, our thoughts, intentions, and immediate actions, and what remains beyond it, other people's choices, economic conditions, or random mishaps. A key source of distress from this perspective is investing too much energy into the latter category. When we obsess over external factors like our status, reputation, or uncontrollable events, we set ourselves up for frustration. Over time, we lose sight of how we can manage our internal responses, which Stoicism identifies as the bedrock of emotional health and ethical conduct. Contrary to popular caricatures, Stoics did not propose a joyless life free of emotion. Rather, they taught that we should cultivate measured responses to life's unpredictability. And while certain passages in Stoic texts might seem stern, many of their core teachings champion resilience, empathy, and even humor. In fact, these philosophers recognize that good humor and a calm spirit enable us to navigate tragedies, rivalries, and disappointments without succumbing to bitterness. Contemporary psychologists echo this sentiment, labeling it emotional intelligence or emotional regulation. Clinical studies confirm that developing strategies to remain flexible and balanced, whether through laughter, mindfulness, or problem-solving, lowers stress markers and can mitigate chronic anxiety and depression. The story of Mark and the sage in the cabin offers a distilled version of these ideas. For Mark, the epiphany was that happiness was not something he had to chase. It was something he could foster internally by shifting his perspective and cultivating gratitude, acceptance, and love. Gratitude forces us to notice small wonders that are easily overshadowed by dissatisfaction. Acceptance detaches us from unrealistic expectations about controlling the world, and love broadens our empathy and connections. Each principle is inherently inward-focused, yet has outward manifestations. A grateful mindset shapes how we interact with others. Acceptance makes us less prone to conflict, and love encourages altruism and unity. In practical terms, implementing Stoic concepts today might involve a host of daily exercises, journaling about your emotions, reframing perceived failures as learning experiences, or consciously practicing empathy toward people you find challenging. The suggestions in this article serve a similar function, merging an appreciation of Stoic philosophy with modern methods proven to enhance well-being. From finding laughter in unexpected places to forming a morning routine, these strategies serve as small actionable steps toward living a more examined and satisfying life. So as we transition into the first specific practice, laughter, bear in mind that it is not a superficial, "don't worry, be happy" command. Rather, it is a mindful choice that helps us reclaim perspective. Like a stepping stone, laughter supports us in crossing turbulent waters of daily stress without falling in. When combined with nature exposure, early rising, and efficient planning, laughter ensures that our emotional toolkit remains robust, balanced, and open to growth, much like the Stoics encouraged in their meditations on life. In fast-paced cultures, laughter can be mistaken for a luxury, something that belongs at the end of the to-do list after all urgent work is done. Yet both scientific and ancient philosophical viewpoints suggest that laughter is neither frivolous nor optional for maintaining good mental health. Neuroscience shows that when we laugh, our brains release feel-good neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, which alleviate pain and elevate mood. This biochemical boost often lingers, making laughter a kind of emotional reset that counters tension, anxiety, and stress. Additionally, laughter lowers the levels of cortisol, a hormone that in high amounts can harm cognition, immune function, and even long-term cardiovascular health. Surprisingly, the Stoics, who are often portrayed as austere and unemotional, acknowledged the importance of a more light-hearted perspective. Although they emphasized self-control and discipline, Stoic philosophers did not prescribe constant solemnity. Epictetus famously taught that people are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. This quote is often used to illustrate how changing our viewpoint can either imprison us in fear or liberate us into calm acceptance. Injecting a dose of humor into our reactions, a laugh or a chuckle at life's absurdities, is a prime example of that liberation. Rather than ignoring hardships, laughter reframes them, reminding us that while the situation might be distressing, we still possess agency over our emotional outlook. Scientific inquiry backs up the idea that laughter has genuine therapeutic value. Researchers at Loma Linda University found that even a short period of genuine laughter could lower blood pressure, bolster immune response, and help regulate stress hormones. This phenomenon suggests that a laugh is more than a fleeting bit of amusement. It can be a deliberate, health-affirming act of self-care. For some, even forced laughter has tangible benefits, as the physical act can trick the brain into releasing the same beneficial hormones. Hence, laughter yoga or guided laughter sessions exist precisely to harness these advantages systematically. Of course, laughing does not directly solve every problem. If you have deadlines at work, health challenges, or a difficult family situation, a hearty chuckle will not make the responsibilities vanish. However, laughter equips you to tackle them from a steadier mental platform. When you are less stressed and more positive, you can think more clearly, communicate better, and have higher emotional endurance. Much like the Stoics argued that cultivating tranquility aids wise decision-making, modern psychology finds that levity can greatly enhance flexibility and problem-solving skills. All this underscores why laugh more is not trivial advice. It is an invitation to recognize the power you hold in your immediate mental environment. Whether you find humor in your daily predicaments, share a hilarious meme with friends, or watch a comedy special, you invite the possibility of relief, perspective, and improved well-being into your life. Stoic philosophy and neuroscience both urge you to consider that you have more power than you think, even if it starts with something as simple and profound as a good laugh. Equally relevant is the social dimension of laughter. In family gatherings, workplace interactions, or moments with friends, a shared laugh can dissolve tension, establish rapport, and fortify interpersonal bonds. Humor can make challenging conversations more approachable, ease resentments, or serve as a communal coping mechanism in stressful settings. Stoics prized living in harmony with others, recognizing that humans are inherently social creatures whose well-being often depends on cooperation and mutual respect. When Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of recognizing our place within a larger community, he was pointing to this interconnectedness. Laughter is one of the clearest expressions of it. However, not all laughter is created equal. Stoic ethics remind us that virtue and decency should guide our actions. Thus, mocking or belittling humor that relies on making someone else feel inferior contradicts the Stoic spirit of empathy and moral improvement. Instead, the laughter Stoics might encourage is that which does no harm, fosters human connection, and stems from an authentic, compassionate perspective. Laughing about minor mishaps or universal human foibles fosters camaraderie without alienating or wounding anyone. Epictetus might argue that a sense of humor grounded in humility and universal human experience remains consistent with wise conduct. If you find laughter elusive, perhaps life's burdens feel too heavy, or you have built a habit of seeing situations through a negative lens, there are practical steps you can take. Start small by exposing yourself to uplifting or comedic content deliberately. Pick short clips, stand-up acts, or comedic shows that genuinely spark laughter. Another approach is surrounding yourself with people who find humor in daily events. Laughter can be contagious, so even if you are initially reluctant, you may find your mood shifting when others begin to giggle. You might also consider laughter yoga, a group practice combining gentle stretching, breathing exercises, and simulated laughter that often segues into genuine hilarity. Let us also not underestimate the occasional value of laughing at oneself. The ability to see your own minor mistakes and human frailties with a sense of gentle amusement embodies the Stoic approach to self-awareness. Instead of spiraling into shame or self-criticism, a short chuckle at your own oversight can instantly reset your mindset. You understand that errors and misunderstandings are an inevitable part of being human, and far from being a sign of weakness, acknowledging that truth fosters resilience. In Stoic language, failing at a task is an external event. While you might prefer success, you can still maintain an internal attitude of calm acceptance. Laughter simply speeds up that transition to acceptance, transforming potential frustration into a lighter, more constructive approach. Ultimately, embracing laughter as a daily habit is about more than just entertainment. It is a deliberate recalibration of how you experience the world. Like opening a window in a stuffy room, laughter lets fresh air in, circulating positivity and fresh perspectives. Whether you are dealing with traffic jams, workplace hurdles, or family disputes, responding with a smile or a laugh can break the cycle of stress and bring you closer to a measured, stoic sense of composure. As we move forward into additional methods for personal growth, connecting with nature, waking up early, planning your day intentionally. Remember that laughter can undergird these strategies, infusing them with warmth and optimism. Human beings once lived intimately alongside nature, relying on the land for sustenance and navigating the day's activities according to the sun's rise and fall. Yet as our societies became increasingly industrialized and technological, the average individual's day shifted indoors, illuminated by artificial lights and punctuated by smartphone alerts. While modern conveniences have undeniable benefits, comfort, productivity, entertainment, our detachment from the natural world, carries costs often invisible, but no less real. Elevated stress, anxiety, and depression can sometimes be traced back to this near-constant disconnection from the basic rhythms of the planet. Stoicism contends that to live in accordance with nature means recognizing we are part of a cosmic order that extends beyond our personal concerns. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius frequently mentions nature's processes, how rivers flow, how seasons change, how living beings are born and pass away. These reflections helped him accept that certain events are an inevitable part of the grand flow, and not something he should obsess over controlling. If an emperor burdened with governance could find solace and humility in contemplating nature, then we too can benefit from simply walking outside and gazing at the sky or examining the shapes of leaves. Modern science provides ample corroboration. Being in a green space, even for short intervals, lowers cortisol, a key stress hormone, and bolsters mood. In the practice of forest bathing popularized in Japan as Shinrin-yoku, participants slowly move through a forested area, focusing on sensory details such as the texture of bark, the sound of rustling leaves, or the scent of wet moss. Studies have shown that these quiet immersions in the natural world can reduce anxiety, lift depressive symptoms, and even improve sleep quality. Similarly, research from environmental psychology suggests that encountering biodiversity, seeing an array of plant and animal life, enhances our sense of awe and wonder, reinforcing humility and interconnectedness. From a Stoic viewpoint, the reason these effects resonate so deeply is that nature provides a vivid reminder of how life is both fragile and remarkably resilient. Consider a single tree that has withstood storms, harsh winters, and insect infestations, yet continues to grow, bloom, and bear fruit in the right season. Observing such perseverance can galvanize our own sense of fortitude. We see that adaptability in the face of adversity is woven into the fabric of existence. Epictetus might even interpret this scenario as an example of focusing on what is within a tree's control, rooting itself firmly, storing nutrients, and releasing the rest storms, cold pests, to the realm of the uncontrollable. If we emulate that approach, we can guard our inner stability while the external world shifts unpredictably around us. Incorporating nature into your life need not be extravagant. A short daily stroll in a local park, a weekend visit to a nearby beach, or occasionally working near a window that overlooks greenery can ground you more firmly in the present. For apartment dwellers or city residents, maintaining potted plants or a small windowsill herb garden can provide a sense of nurturing and connection to organic growth. When you catch yourself scrolling on your phone for extended periods, consider stepping outside for a few minutes to breathe in fresh air and notice sunlight or cloud patterns overhead. These small, consistent engagements with the natural realm can become spiritual or contemplative rituals, aligning well with Stoic reflection. In practical application, consider scheduling nature breaks in the same way you might block out time for lunch or a business meeting. These intervals serve as a structured pause to reset your mind, giving you the chance to decompress and regain perspective. If you have children, involving them in short nature walks can introduce them early to the concept that stepping outdoors is not a luxury or optional pastime, it is a necessary facet of balanced living. Stoics of old recognized that our bodies and minds thrive when aligned with natural processes rather than isolated in boxes of our own making. Beyond reducing stress, nature immersion can also spur creativity. Researchers from the University of Kansas found that backpackers scored significantly higher on creativity tests after several days in the wilderness, free from electronic distractions. The tranquility and sensory richness of natural environments seem to allow the mind's default mode network to wander in a more constructive way, leading to insights or problem-solving breakthroughs that might remain elusive amid the constant pings of digital life. For those who cannot afford multi-day retreats, even micro-doses like a short forest trail jog or a picnic in a scenic spot can spark new ideas. Nature does more than just soothe. It can offer a form of honest reflection. Watching animals forage for food or plants adapt to shifting weather patterns can illuminate how to navigate your own daily challenges with resourcefulness and patience. A rocky outcrop battered by wind and rain yet standing firm might remind you that hardships, while unpleasant, need not destroy your core. Indeed, Stoic teachings often encourage self-examination, inspired by natural examples, to ask how we can adapt, endure, and flourish within our own environments, even when conditions appear inhospitable. This parallels the Stoic principle of focusing attention on your own conduct, akin to how a tree invests energy in its own growth, rather than sulking about its location or climate. Moreover, stepping outside your habitual routine cultivates humility. Modern environments can give an illusion of absolute human control, with climate-controlled offices, instant grocery deliveries, and near-limitless online distractions. In nature, that illusion vanishes. Encountering sudden rain, a steep hill, or the sheer scale of an ocean horizon dissolves any notion that we can micromanage every detail of existence. Stoics might claim that this realization is freeing. It liberates you from the burden of believing you must fix or control all externalities. Once you relinquish that burden, you can redirect your energy toward what truly lies within your grasp, your mindset, your choices, and the cultivation of your virtues. Ultimately, to get outside and connect with nature is not a shallow slogan, but a conscious relinking of ourselves to the larger tapestry of life. Whether you live near forests, deserts, mountains, or city blocks, there are always avenues to experience nature's rhythms, from weather shifts to starry nights. The key is to observe and allow these experiences to inform both your emotional well-being and your philosophical outlook, reinforcing the Stoic stance that we learn. Acceptance, gratitude, and resilience by acknowledging that we are, in fact, part of nature. When you picture a morning person, you might imagine a chipper individual who hops out of bed at dawn, eagerly tackling tasks before most people have stirred. For those who struggle to wake up early, the mere thought of sunrise activity may be daunting or even off-putting. Nevertheless, numerous Stoic texts and modern studies align in suggesting that embracing the morning hours can yield significant benefits for mental clarity, productivity, and emotional well-being. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, exhorted himself to rise and face the tasks befitting a human being, a message of purposeful living that resonates with the entire Stoic emphasis on discipline and intention. From a biological angle, getting up early tends to align us with the natural sleep-wake cycle governed by daylight. When morning sunlight enters your eyes, it helps regulate your circadian rhythm, influencing hormones tied to alertness and rest. People who rise early often report feeling more energetic through the day, partly due to reducing the social jet lag that occurs when our sleep schedule conflicts with natural light patterns. Contemporary research indicates that larks, or morning-oriented individuals, may experience higher levels of positive affect as well as fewer depressive symptoms when compared to night owls. This does not mean we must all transform into 5 a.m. Rises instantly, but shifting toward earlier wake times can foster a sense of stability and better synchronization with daily life demands. In a psychological sense, becoming a morning person can create a quiet, distraction-free window to set the tone for the rest of your day. During these early hours, you can engage in activities that nourish you, like mindful reading, meditation, journaling, or gentle exercise, before the barrage of emails, texts, or social media notifications start vying for your attention. By the time you plunge into your work or family responsibilities, you have already dedicated part of the day to inner alignment and personal well-being. Stoicism prizes this kind of reflective practice. It mirrors the advice of Seneca, who recommended regularly examining one's thoughts and actions to maintain moral clarity and self-awareness. What about those who claim they are inherently night owls? Admittedly, individual differences in chronotype, our built-in preferences for sleep patterns, do exist. Yet many find that by gradually adjusting bedtime earlier, limiting screen exposure before sleep, and establishing soothing nighttime rituals, they can successfully become, if not a perfect early bird, at least a hybrid who capitalizes on morning calm. Epictetus would say that while external conditions influence us, our habits and decisions should guide how we adapt. We might not rewrite our genetic predisposition, but we can shape our lifestyle in ways that serve our goals and mental health. Additionally, leveraging early morning discipline can shield us from decision fatigue. As the day progresses, we tend to be bombarded with minor choices: what to eat, which emails to answer first, how to respond to various errands that gradually deplete our mental reserves. Tackling pivotal or demanding tasks right after waking can exploit our freshest cognitive state. Even a brief session of tackling crucial items in the morning can reduce overall stress, because you have made tangible progress by the time typical business hours begin. For the Stoics, this approach is about exercising self-dominion. You choose how you meet the day, rather than letting the day's chaos control you. An added advantage of rising early is that it often instills discipline in other areas of life. If you plan to get up at 6 a.m., you will likely be more judicious about when you go to bed, what you eat or drink in the evening, and how you structure your nighttime routine. Little by little, these mindful adjustments create a ripple effect, bolstering healthy habits. Instead of letting the night slip away in endless television episodes or social media scrolling, you begin to prioritize rest to ensure you have the energy required in the morning. Stoics encouraged such a rational approach, seeing each decision as an opportunity to reinforce self-mastery. Critically, being a morning person does not mean existing in a perpetual state of forced cheeriness at dawn. People differ in how quickly they become fully alert, and the transition may require consistent practice. However, it is the underlying principle of ownership of your day that holds. By setting an alarm earlier, you claim space in your schedule for reflection planning or creative endeavors. Perhaps you devote 20 minutes to journaling about your goals or 30 minutes to reading a book on personal development. Alternatively, you might choose to go for a calm walk, paying attention to the sunrise and practicing gratitude. Each of these actions builds momentum and frames the day with a sense of control and purposefulness, values deeply cherished in Stoic teachings. Imagine starting your day already in motion, having taken time to nurture your mind or body while many are still asleep. That sense of progress can uplift your mindset before you face your core obligations: job tasks, family caregiving, or academic assignments. Over time, you may notice that you feel more prepared and less prone to reacting impulsively when sudden problems arise later in the day. Stoics would argue that this readiness is exactly what fosters resilience. Instead of being tossed about by the day's demands, you approach them from a strong mental and emotional platform. Still, a measured approach is essential, especially if you're accustomed to late nights. Drastic overnight changes, like suddenly setting your alarm 2 hours earlier, can backfire if you end up severely sleep-deprived. A gradual shift of 15 minutes earlier every few days allows your body to adapt. Ensure you maintain a consistent bedtime limit electronic device usage right before sleep, and keep bedroom conditions conducive to rest. Over days and weeks, this new schedule settles into place. The Stoic lesson lies in the steady application of will and the recognition that each morning is not simply another day. It is an opportunity to align your actions with what you truly value. By choosing your morning habits, you lay the groundwork for a more balanced and thoughtful life overall, reflecting the Stoic conviction that small, consistent efforts shape character and destiny. Being busy can feel like a badge of honor in many circles, as if a jam-packed calendar is the ultimate proof of success or self-importance. However, modern-day hustle culture often equates productivity with mere busyness, overlooking the vital nuance of purpose. Stoic philosophers such as Seneca distinguished between frantic activity and intentional use of one's time. In his essay on the shortness of life, Seneca lamented how people squander precious hours on aimless or trivial pursuits while delaying the very things that would offer true satisfaction or personal growth. For Stoics, the real question is whether you are using your days in alignment with your principles and aspirations, not merely whether you are occupied. To pack your days with plans does not mean scheduling every single minute until you collapse. Rather, it involves mindfully arranging your priorities so that each day builds toward what you find meaningful. If you place high value on physical wellness, plan consistent workout times. If family closeness is critical, slot in shared meals or outings. If creative expression matters, allocate a regular window for writing, painting, or music. This approach ensures that the elements defining your sense of purpose do not languish on the back burner. Research on time management repeatedly shows that people who set specific goals or structure their tasks, even in broad strokes, are more likely to follow through. By drafting a plan, you transform abstract intentions into tangible commitments. You also reduce cognitive load, because you no longer need to hold every potential to-do item in your working memory. Stoics recognized that mental clutter leads to distraction and stress. In effect, having purposeful plans can free mental space, letting you engage more deeply with each task. Additionally, scheduling can help combat procrastination, a common source of guilt and anxiety. When faced with a vague but important task, I need to learn a new skill, it is easy to postpone or avoid it indefinitely. Yet if your daily plan lists a small manageable step, spend 20 minutes reading about this skill. You transform that inertia into steady progress. Over time, these small repeated actions accumulate, reflecting the Stoic concept of building virtue through daily acts, rather than waiting for dramatic turning points. Seneca might say that greatness emerges from consistent, focused practice, rather than sporadic bursts of activity fueled by fleeting inspiration. Finally, building your day with intention still allows for spontaneity. A Stoic approach to planning is flexible. If unexpected events arise, an urgent call, an impromptu invitation to relax with friends, you can adapt gracefully. The difference is that rather than being perpetually reactive, you have a roadmap, so making adjustments is a conscious choice rather than a frantic scramble. The day's plan serves as a guide, not an unbreakable contract, giving you both direction and the freedom to pivot. Stoics would see this as the hallmark of wisdom, applying reason and values to structure your life while retaining the agility to handle life's inevitable surprises. Visualizing a day packed with purposeful plans might initially sound exhausting. However, Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus would argue that proper planning actually reduces fatigue because it eliminates the mental strain of constant decision-making in the moment. Modern psychology has a term for this decision fatigue, which describes how the more decisions you make, large or small, the more your cognitive resources wear down. Eventually, even trivial choices, what should I eat for lunch? Which emails do I answer? First feel burdensome. This is why forming structured daily routines can be a game changer. By deciding in advance that you will, for example, read for 30 minutes each morning, check emails only at specific times, or take a 15-minute break each afternoon, you preserve energy for tasks that truly require creativity or deeper focus. Stoics like Epictetus emphasize the notion of dichotomy of control, suggesting we should focus on what we can influence and disengage emotionally from what we cannot. Planning your day is a prime instance of directing your attention toward what you can control, how you spend your time. You do not necessarily control the outcome of each task. An email might go unanswered, a client might cancel, but you do control the intent and structure you bring to each day. This orientation fosters a sense of accountability to yourself, which can bolster self-esteem and combat the feeling of being helpless in a chaotic world. Another overlooked dimension of planning is that it can incorporate rest and leisure. Stoics were not workaholics who believed in endless labor. Seneca often wrote about the value of otium or leisure time, which when used wisely offers moments for reflection, enjoyment, and inner growth. You might schedule blocks of time to go for a leisurely walk, to engage in a hobby, or to simply do nothing. The act of explicitly planning these breaks or vacations helps ensure that rest is taken seriously, not squeezed out by an ever-growing to-do list. Moreover, it alleviates guilt some people feel when they step away from tasks, reminding them that balanced living is essential for overall productivity and mental health. In adopting a daily plan, it may help to keep it realistic. Overly ambitious schedules that pack every hour can lead to frustration or burnout. Instead, select a few key priorities, both professional and personal, and allow breathing room for transitions or unforeseen events. A plan that acknowledges the fluid nature of life stands a better chance of enduring. When the day ends, the Stoic practice of self-reflection invites you to evaluate how you used your time. Did you live up to your values? Did you address top priorities? Or did you get sidetracked by lesser urgencies? Asking these questions can guide incremental improvements, reinforcing a cycle of mindful planning and reflective learning. Ultimately, by packing your day with thoughtfully chosen tasks and moments of rest, you're closer to living in alignment with Stoic ideals. You channel your energies toward meaningful engagements, minimize wasted effort, and remain flexible in the face of unpredictability. Over time, this daily structuring can profoundly shape your sense of fulfillment and self-mastery, validating the Stoic confidence in our ability to nurture inner tranquility while managing life's demands. It is common to begin a new project or hobby with high enthusiasm, only to waver when inevitable challenges emerge. Whether it is writing a novel, learning an instrument, starting a small business, or mastering a foreign language, the initial excitement can evaporate once progress slows or obstacles appear. Yet Stoic philosophy, echoing the more contemporary notion of grit, urges us to persevere in pursuits that hold genuine value. Epictetus taught that adversity reveals how committed we are to our chosen path. If a challenge alone can derail you, perhaps your dedication was never fully anchored in true conviction. But if you persist, adjusting strategies, refining your approach, you prove not only your determination, but also your love for the activity in question. Modern psychological research corroborates that seeing one's efforts through even during the harder phases cultivates resilience and builds a stronger sense of self-efficacy. Angela Duckworth's work on grit exemplifies this, showing how long-term passion and perseverance are better predictors of success than raw talent alone. Success here is not exclusively about achieving external rewards or recognition. In a Stoic sense, success lies in the character developed through consistent exertion and the meaningful experiences gained from mastery. One stumbling block is the cultural pressure for instant gratification. People often expect quick wins, learning a guitar chord progression in a day or monetizing a blog in a week. When reality proves slower, they lose hope. Seneca would likely label this impatience as a misunderstanding of nature's pace. Just as a tree cannot be forced to bear fruit before its season, your skill or project cannot bloom overnight. By focusing on the day-to-day practice and acknowledging incremental growth, you align yourself with the Stoic emphasis on the process rather than the outcome. Quitting prematurely also deprives you of discovering your deeper potential. Many times that final 10% of effort or that one additional month of persistence yields the breakthroughs that seemed impossible. By staying the course, you offer yourself the chance to surpass prior limitations and to refine your craft in ways that early challenges might have concealed. While Stoics accept that external results, e.g. public accolades, are not guaranteed, they view the genuine enjoyment and internal growth as meaningful in their own right. In other words, not quitting on what you love can bring a sense of purpose and fulfillment separate from any outward metric of success. However, it is also valid to distinguish between fleeting interests and true passions. If something genuinely no longer resonates, it may be wise to let it go. The Stoic principle here is introspection. Are you quitting because it lacks genuine meaning for you? Or are you quitting out of frustration or fear? If the latter, it may be time to apply Stoic perseverance. If you truly love a pursuit, treat it as an integral part of your life's journey. In that sense, don't quit on what you love is not rigid dogma, but an invitation to remain steadfast when the only real obstacle is discomfort or temporary setbacks. A common misunderstanding of perseverance is that it implies stubbornly forging ahead without any adaptation or learning. The Stoics, however, do not champion blind persistence. They encourage a willingness to adapt. If you repeatedly fail at a particular step in your passion, say you keep hitting the same stumbling block when painting or coding, then reevaluate your approach. Talk to a mentor, study new techniques, and consider shifting your perspective on the difficulty you face. Marcus Aurelius noted in his Meditations that an impediment to action can actually elevate action, becoming part of the path rather than its end. In simpler terms, a barrier can serve as a teacher guiding you to refine your skills or approach. Nevertheless, the inclination to quit can grow especially strong during times of stress or burnout. If your life is already brimming with responsibilities, devoting time to a passion may feel draining. It is here that Stoic wisdom intersects with practical stress management. Evaluate whether you can reorganize your schedule or lighten other commitments rather than abandoning the pursuit you love. This ensures that you protect the sparks of joy that creative or personal endeavors bring. Seneca, who held high administrative roles in Rome, was still a prolific writer of plays and letters, demonstrating that even under intense career pressures, dedicating time to pursuits you cherish can be negotiated. A helpful exercise is the why test for a given activity. Ask yourself, why do I love this? The reasons might include creative expression, emotional catharsis, personal growth, or the pleasure of honing a skill. Writing these reasons down clarifies your motivations, which in turn strengthens resolve. When obstacles arise, you can revisit your list as a reminder of what initially drew you to the pursuit. This practice resonates with modern self-help approaches that emphasize anchoring habits to a deeply felt purpose. From a psychological standpoint, each time you persist and push through a challenging phase, you strengthen neural pathways associated with resilience. Neuroplasticity research shows that sustained effort in the face of difficulty literally rewires your brain, making perseverance more natural over time. This phenomenon dovetails with Epictetus's teaching that every trial can be harnessed as a test of character, forging the type of inner fortitude that stands you in good stead for future trials. Finally, remember that your capacity for perseverance can serve as an inspiration to others. Whether it is friends, family colleagues, or younger people witnessing someone stay devoted to what they love, even when the road is bumpy, can spark renewed ambition and optimism. Stoicism may be individually practiced, but it acknowledges the communal aspect of human existence. Your steadfastness may encourage those around you to nurture their own passions. In that sense, each act of not giving up radiates outward, creating a ripple effect that touches more lives than your own. Thus, refusing to quit on what you love aligns closely with Stoic values of both personal virtue and meaningful social impact. Kindness, in a world that often feels rushed, competitive, or digitally fragmented, can appear old-fashioned, a gentle relic overshadowed by personal ambition and self-interest. Yet Stoic philosophy and modern psychology converge on the point that genuine kindness is among the most potent forces for emotional well-being, social harmony, and indeed personal growth. Stoics understood humans as social creatures naturally interdependent. Marcus Aurelius penned that each of us is part of a community akin to organs in a body, highlighting that no person thrives in isolation. A kind act, whether modest or grand, weaves us closer together and crucially boosts our own morale as we practice virtue. Contemporary studies on kindness mirror these ancient insights. Research demonstrates that altruistic behaviors such as volunteering or small acts of service trigger the release of oxytocin and other bonding hormones, thereby enhancing a sense of well-being. These findings resonate with Epictetus's belief that living virtuously, which includes benevolence, fosters a tranquil soul. Conversely, indulging in cruelty or even apathy can leave us feeling emotionally disconnected and anxious. One of the beauties of kindness is that it is highly scalable. You need not overhaul your life or donate enormous sums of money to experience its benefits. Holding a door open, offering a compliment, or listening attentively to someone's troubles can suffice. According to the kindness contagion effect, recipients and even onlookers of kind acts are more likely to pay it forward. In effect, your single moment of compassion has a social ripple that can extend well beyond the immediate interaction. Stoics would celebrate this as evidence of our shared rational nature. Seeing that others respond in kind to virtue underscores our universal capacity for empathy. Still, modern life poses obstacles that may numb our impulse to be kind. Stress, overwork, and endless digital notifications leave limited mental space for noticing another's needs. Stoicism, however, puts heavy emphasis on mindfulness and living deliberately. By slowing down, you can catch yourself in those micro moments. Maybe you're in a busy queue at a supermarket, or feeling irritated with a slow waiter, when an instinctive reaction might be impatience or rudeness. Instead, you pause and recall the Stoic tenet that how you behave is always within your control. The choice to respond kindly to empathize with someone else's situation fundamentally shifts the tone of the encounter. Moreover, kindness is not synonymous with weakness or letting people walk over you. Stoics advocated for balance. One can maintain firm boundaries while still acting kindly. Think of it as courteous assertiveness. If someone is harming or exploiting you, you can address it firmly, but without malice. This approach stems from a larger Stoic conviction: hatred or revenge only corrodes the hater. Marcus Aurelius pointed out that the best revenge against those who injure you is to refuse to become like them. Choosing kindness even when faced with negativity reflects an unwavering commitment to your own character. In day-to-day living, consider weaving in small acts of kindness. Pay for someone's coffee in line behind you. Give a co-worker praise for a job well done, or text an encouraging message to a friend facing difficulties. Doing so not only brightens others' days, but also fosters your own emotional resilience. As you lean into kindness, you nurture a part of yourself that thrives on connection and empathy, aligning neatly with the Stoic emphasis on virtue as the true pathway to a flourishing life. Ultimately, kindness is a practical tool that enriches communal bonds, elevates your state of mind, and reminds you that each of us can make the world incrementally better through simple daily choices. At times, the act of kindness may feel risky or open to misinterpretation. Perhaps you worry that your overtures might be seen as intrusive, naive, or even manipulative. The Stoics, though, would tell us to concentrate on our intention. If your intent is sincerely benevolent, then how others interpret it lies outside your complete control. After all, Stoicism teaches that we can only truly govern our own motives and actions. Marcus Aurelius advised focusing on being a good person, for that alone is squarely within our power. This notion is reinforced by various psychological frameworks that underscore the concept of intrinsic motivation. When you do something kind merely for an external reward, praise, a returned favor, or public recognition, you might grow resentful if none of these results come your way. But if you act kindly because it aligns with who you strive to be, the reward becomes intrinsic. Even if the gesture goes unnoticed or unreciprocated, you have expressed your values. Epictetus would regard that as a moral victory in itself. Over time, repeated kindness builds your self-concept as a person who behaves ethically, and this self-perception can create a positive feedback loop, consistent internal reinforcement. Looking beyond the personal growth aspect, kindness has a larger social dimension. We live in an era of widespread polarization. Online debates escalate, misunderstandings proliferate, and empathy can be in short supply. Practicing deliberate kindness acts as a counterbalance to these tendencies. Even small deeds like giving someone the benefit of the doubt in a heated discussion or responding graciously to a rude comment begin to shift the emotional currents of those interactions. For Stoics, this is a demonstration of living virtue. You're not merely reading or writing about philosophy. You are manifesting its principles in real-world encounters. That said, it is important to acknowledge that not everyone will reciprocate. Some might take advantage of your helpful nature, or your kind gesture might land on emotionally closed-off ground. Stoicism prepares us for this possibility, reinforcing that our role is to do our best to act with virtue, and not to fret excessively about outcomes we do not govern. Epictetus's advice to remain steadfast in the face of external negativity applies well here. You continue to be kind, not to receive universal praise, but because you will not compromise your own commitment to moral integrity. Finally, consider turning your kind focus inward as well. Stoicism is not about self-neglect. Being kind to yourself by allowing rest, acknowledging your accomplishments, or forgiving your own mistakes can be equally transformative. If you perpetually criticize your every error, you deprive yourself of the essential grace that fosters growth. In fact, a little self-compassion can fortify your ability to sustain kindness toward others, ensuring you do not become emotionally depleted. This dual practice of outward and inward kindness meets the Stoic ideal of nurturing a resilient, moral, and emotionally healthy individual who thereby contributes to the larger community's well-being. Opportunity knocks in many forms, yet fear, inertia, or narrow comfort zones often cause us to reply with a firm no before thoroughly considering the invitation. Stoicism, for its part, emphasizes a balanced engagement with life's possibilities rather than perpetual retreat. Epictetus believed that while caution can be prudent, excessive avoidance of new experiences can deprive us of personal expansion. Modern psychology echoes this, noting that novel experiences stimulate areas of the brain linked to learning, creativity, and adaptive behavior. Whether it is trying a new hobby, accepting a social invitation, or tackling a challenging work project, saying yes can open doors to serendipitous discoveries, friendships, or breakthroughs you would never encounter if you constantly defaulted to no. One reason people often say no is the dread of stepping out of familiar routines. Comfort zones, by definition, feel safe and predictable. But the Stoics remind us that the external world is anything but predictable. Change is constant, adversity arrives unbidden, and the best we can do is cultivate adaptability. By voluntarily exposing ourselves to small degrees of uncertainty, like joining a club, volunteering for a new role, or starting a side project, we hone the mental agility and resilience we will need when less favorable changes appear. Each time you push your limits, you discover more about your actual capacity for handling life's fluctuations. Saying yes does not mean discarding discernment or boundaries. Stoicism champions reason. So if an opportunity fundamentally conflicts with your moral or practical constraints, politely declining can be the wiser choice. The guiding question is whether you are refusing out of reason the activity genuinely is not aligned with your values or schedule, or out of fear you feel uncomfortable with the unknown. Stoics would encourage you to overcome fear-based reluctance. Growth demands venturing beyond the safe harbor. Furthermore, a yes mindset can be socially enriching. Suppose a friend invites you to a gathering or event where you do not know many people. Saying yes might result in encountering new perspectives, forging friendships, or discovering shared interests. These relational expansions resonate with the Stoic acknowledgement that humans flourish in communities. While Stoicism emphasizes self-control, it never suggests full withdrawal from society. Indeed, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself frequently that humans are meant to assist one another in forging a harmonious collective. Finally, do not let perfectionism become an obstacle to trying new things. If you tell yourself you should only attempt something when you can do it perfectly, you stunt your potential. Stoic resilience is founded on learning through mistakes, adapting, and persisting. So if you find yourself hesitating, ask, what do I risk losing if I do not explore this possibility? Often, you risk losing a richer, more varied life. Thus, saying yes more often becomes a testament to a Stoic-inspired openness, recognizing that true growth and wisdom flourish when you embrace rather than shun the unknown. From a neuroscientific viewpoint, novelty triggers dopamine release, a neurotransmitter linked not only to pleasure and reward, but also to motivation and curiosity. Whenever you embrace a new activity, say, tasting an unfamiliar cuisine, learning a dance form, or traveling to a place you have never been, your brain's neural circuitry receives a fresh stimulus. This can boost your enthusiasm and willingness to tackle subsequent challenges. Interestingly, Stoic writers might interpret these findings to illustrate how remaining open to new experiences aligns with nature's design for continuous growth. Humans are born with a capacity to learn and adapt, and saying yes to opportunities is one way we respect that inherent capability. Yet some people claim they cannot handle more obligations, mistaking saying yes for mindlessly accepting every demand. Stoicism, balanced as ever, warns against extremes. A key principle is moderation and deliberate choice. If your schedule is already at capacity, it may be prudent to say no to additional burdens that yield little personal or communal benefit. The crux is discerning whether you are turning down opportunities out of a well-reasoned approach to priorities or because it is more comfortable to stay in your routine. True Stoic engagement with life is purposeful, whether the decision is to say yes or no. Consider employing a personal reflection whenever you find yourself automatically inclined to refuse an invitation or challenge. Pause and ask, why am I hesitant? Is it from genuine lack of alignment with my values or goals, or is it from apprehension? If you identify fear or complacency as the driver that might be your signal to do the Stoic thing, step into the unknown for the sake of growth. Over time, building a habit of thoughtful yes can accumulate surprising boons, unexpected friendships, career shifts, or personal revelations. Moreover, saying yes can mitigate the nagging sense of regret that arises from passing on opportunities. Many people look back and wish they had taken a chance, joined that social event, or collaborated on that bold project. The Stoic principle of memento mori, remember that you must die, underscores how life is finite. Being overly cautious or reserved can lead you to miss out on ephemeral joys and expansions of perspective. Epictetus might note that while you do not control how much time you have, you do influence how you use it. One day, your final hour will come, and you will not regret the times you genuinely tried to live fully, even if not every attempt yielded perfect results. That said, a yes-oriented philosophy is also a safeguard against stagnation. Progress in any domain, emotional, intellectual, social, often demands crossing thresholds of discomfort. The more you say yes to skill-building courses, new friendships, or traveling to challenging locales, the more you discover different sides of yourself. You realize you can adapt to varied circumstances and be resourceful. This fosters the Stoic sense of self-reliance tempered by humility, acknowledging that you are both capable and always learning. In essence, consistently opening up to life's invitations can keep your spirit agile, your mind curious, and your emotional horizon broad, a living reflection of Stoic wisdom in practice. Contemporary life often blurs the line between the digital world and the real one. We carry smartphones, pocket-sized portals, to emails, texts, social media, news, and entertainment everywhere we go. While these devices facilitate communication and information access in astonishing ways, they can also tether us to an endless cycle of notifications. The Stoics were adamant about maintaining focus on what really matters, cautioning us against constant distractions. They viewed mental clarity as a prerequisite to practicing self-control, wisdom, and virtue. Although Marcus Aurelius or Seneca did not encounter smartphones, their emphasis on mindful attention is remarkably relevant. A modern body of research corroborates the Stoic stance: too much screen time elevates stress hormones, disrupts sleep patterns, and can aggravate feelings of anxiety or depression. When you are constantly receiving pings from apps, you remain in a perpetual state of low-level alert, a phenomenon described as being perpetually on call. Over time, your nervous system can suffer from this relentless pressure, leading to burnout or overstimulation. Stoic teachings would encourage you to reclaim the power of directing your mental energy where you choose, rather than letting every digital ring or vibration commandeer your attention. One tangible step is setting specific intervals during the day to fully power down or silence the phone. For instance, you could decide to be phone-free during meals or for the first hour after waking, thus protecting that early morning calm. A more advanced practice is instituting a digital Sabbath on a chosen day each week. Even a few hours of device-free existence can clear mental space for reflection, conversation, creative pursuits, or simple rest. Stoics champion the idea of focusing on the present, and turning off your phone helps remove one of the prime culprits of mental wandering and interruption. Beyond personal calm, your relationships can benefit significantly when you're not continually glancing at a screen. People who feel heard and seen develop stronger bonds and trust. If your phone is always in your hand, ready to disrupt a conversation, those around you sense that your attention is fragmented. Stoicism highlights our interconnectedness and responsibility to engage honorably with others. One way to honor that is by giving someone undivided attention, free from the compulsion to check notifications. Your consistent presence signals respect, thereby reinforcing a more genuine connection. Additionally, digital detox practices can help you identify whether you have been using your phone as a crutch to dodge negative emotions like boredom, loneliness, or stress. Stoics would advise facing those feelings head-on, understanding them and addressing them with introspection. If you discover that you habitually pick up the phone to avoid certain thoughts, you can instead practice a brief mental pause. Reflect on why you feel restless or anxious. Perhaps write it down or engage in a moment of mindful breathing. The phone no longer serves as a reflexive escape hatch, but reverts to a tool used consciously when needed. Over time, you can foster a healthier digital ecosystem that aligns with Stoic ideals of intentional living. Arguably, the biggest barrier to turning off phones is fear of missing out, often referred to as FOMO. People worry they will miss vital messages, important social media updates, or urgent news if they disconnect. Yet Stoic teachings place a high premium on discernment. Is every piece of information truly urgent? Must you respond to every text within minutes? Epictetus would likely say that the anxiety stems not from the phone itself, but from our attachment to being perpetually informed or validated. Another rationale for digital breaks is that the mind thrives on solitude. Seneca advocated for periods of quiet isolation, free from the city's bustling environment, to gather one's thoughts and reflect on moral and philosophical questions. Modern mental health practitioners echo this approach, describing how quiet time fosters deeper processing creativity and emotional regulation. If you are scrolling every time you feel even a hint of boredom, you never let your thoughts settle into that introspective state that can spawn insight or healing. Stoics encourage you to use your free moments to practice self-awareness, to examine your reactions, and to reaffirm your core principles. On a practical note, implementing phone-free practices does not have to be all or nothing. You can begin by identifying certain windows like mealtimes, commutes, unless you rely on the phone for navigation or short breaks throughout the day where your device remains on silent or in another room. Another strategy is to customize notifications so only the most critical alerts come through while social or promotional pings remain off. Each step reasserts your authority over your own attention. You decide when to engage, rather than letting your phone's buzz chirp or badge number yank you away from the present. Gradual changes often yield more lasting results than radical proclamations. Simply telling yourself, "I will never look at my phone again after 6 p.m." might be too big a leap if your work or family obligations require some degree of accessibility. Instead, aim for incremental progress. If you normally check your phone 20 times an hour, reduce it to 10, then 5. Documenting how often you reach for your phone can be an eye-opener. Many find it surprising to discover how compulsively they swipe and tap. Keeping a small notepad to log the times you pick up your phone can cultivate a heightened sense of accountability, a nod to the Stoic practice of self-inventory. Ultimately, phone-free moments can be a gateway to reconnecting with life's simpler pleasures. Savor your coffee's aroma, notice changing light outside, or have an unhurried conversation. The Stoics believe that cherishing the immediate present is essential since tomorrow is never guaranteed. Removing digital intrusions for even brief intervals each day can help you accomplish exactly that, living more attentively, more humanely, and more stoically in a culture that often treats constant connectivity as the norm. Life, for many people, is a carousel of tasks: work, deadlines, family obligations, errands, and social commitments, spinning relentlessly with hardly a pause for recovery. While diligence is admirable, an absence of rest can precipitate burnout, undermining both productivity and mental health. The Stoics, famed for their emphasis on endurance and fortitude, paradoxically also underscored the importance of balance. Figures such as Seneca wrote about the significance of leisureotium, not as a synonym for laziness, but as a time for rejuvenation, introspection, and the pursuit of enriching activities. In the modern era, we often interpret breaks and vacations as luxuries, but from a Stoic standpoint, they can be vital for sustaining moral and psychological wellness. A growing body of research clarifies the physiological and emotional benefits of taking breaks. Brief pauses from work, even just 5 to 10 minutes every 90 minutes or so, have been shown to elevate focus, spark creativity, and improve overall productivity. It appears that the human brain is not wired to sustain unbroken periods of deep concentration indefinitely. It operates more effectively when given cycles of exertion and rest. Similarly, vacations yield a host of advantages. They lower stress, deepen relationships, and can generate new perspectives on everyday challenges. The experience of physically leaving one's usual environment disrupts routine thought patterns, prompting the brain to form new neural connections and sometimes arrive at unexpected insights. From a Stoic vantage point, stepping away from daily chores or professional demands is not an evasion of duty, but a proactive strategy to recharge, so you can fulfill those duties better upon returning. Marcus Aurelius, despite his role as emperor, carved out moments for solitude and reflection, frequently immersing himself in natural retreats. His journaling practice suggests he used these intervals to remind himself of Stoic principles and regain composure, allowing him to make more measured decisions later. If an emperor, leading armies and administering an empire, could find value in breaks, we too might see these pauses as essential rather than self-indulgent. The concept of going on trips, whether long journeys abroad or quick weekend getaways, further amplifies the restorative potential of breaks. Travel exposes us to different cultures, geographies, and ideas, broadening our sense of possibility. When you step out of your comfort zone, you are not only relaxing but also engaging in personal growth. You may notice how others solve problems, interact in public spaces, or structure their daily lives, sparking insights that can be applied back home. Some Stoics, including Seneca, wrote letters about traveling to scenic locales, reflecting on how each new vista refreshed his mindset. However, meaningful breaks do not always require elaborate plans or exotic destinations. Even a simple day trip to a nearby park, lake, or town can suffice if it allows you to exit your normal routine. Breathe fresh air and open your eyes to alternative perspectives. The key is to consciously detach from the daily grind, giving your mind room to wander freely. Epictetus would highlight the mental aspect of this practice. If you take a trip but lug all your anxieties and tasks with you, you're not truly pausing. You might be physically absent from your desk but mentally still chained to responsibilities. A real break in Stoic terms involves redirecting the mind as well, placing concern for those tasks on hold and focusing on the here and now. To reap the most from breaks and trips, pair them with mindfulness. Instead of toggling from hectic work to constant phone scrolling while on vacation, maintain the Stoic principle of presence. Observe your surroundings, taste new foods slowly and attentively, journal your reflections, or share meaningful conversations with your travel companions. Vacations can become a purposeful extension of your Stoic practice if you approach them with awareness and a sense of wonder, rather than as an excuse to oversaturate yourself with different forms of entertainment. For shorter daily breaks, consider how you spend those precious pauses. Scrolling social media might be a reflex, but it might not offer genuine refreshment. Alternatively, you can use a 10-minute window to stretch, breathe deeply, or step outdoors to observe a bit of nature. Some people find micro-meditations focusing on their breath for a set period re-energizing. Others prefer a brisk walk to get blood flowing. The Stoics would likely advise you to experiment and see what fosters renewed concentration and emotional steadiness. Additionally, thoughtful breaks can facilitate better boundary setting between personal and professional spheres. In an age where work emails can ping you at any hour, taking a break sometimes means turning off those notifications and trusting that the world will not crumble in your short absence. This is an illustration of Stoic wisdom. You accept that certain events will keep unfolding, but you prioritize your well-being and mental clarity so that you can be more effective upon your return. Overextending yourself indefinitely is unsustainable. Marcus Aurelius, who governed an empire, recognized the necessity of stepping back to reflect. We can learn from that, no matter how busy we are. We can arrange intervals of genuine disconnection to safeguard our mental health. The benefits extend beyond your personal welfare. If you have a family or work in a team environment, your improved mood and rejuvenated outlook positively affect those around you. Stoic philosophy underscores the interconnectedness of individuals within a community. By preventing burnout and maintaining a more balanced mindset, you become a steadier resource and collaborator. Seneca might phrase it as fulfilling your duty not just to yourself, but also to those who rely on your calm and reasoned presence. Finally, do not wait until you are exhausted to schedule your next break or trip. Proactively planning them in your calendar ensures you do not inadvertently push rest to the bottom of your priority list. This forward-thinking approach aligns with Stoicism's emphasis on wise preparation and self-knowledge. Recognize that you are a being with finite energy and that periodic resets are crucial. Just as you maintain a vehicle by scheduling regular tune-ups rather than driving it until it breaks down, you should maintain your mental and emotional health with consistent breaks. Embracing the Stoic perspective means valuing these pauses not as lazy indulgences, but as essential recalibrations. So whether it is a quick coffee break, a walk around the block, or a week-long journey, treat that time as an opportunity for mental, emotional, and even spiritual renewal. By weaving breaks into your life, you cultivate the resilience and calm that Stoics strove for all while enhancing your productivity and relationship. In chasing ambitious goals, accumulating professional accolades, building personal brands, or striving for academic milestones, many overlook an essential wellspring of happiness. Human connection, whether it is family members, childhood friends, or new acquaintances. Social bonds anchor us, remind us of our shared humanity, and offer comfort in challenging times. The Stoics, despite their image as solitary philosophers, placed substantial value on community and interpersonal relationships. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of cooperating with fellow citizens and fulfilling one's social duties. Seneca likewise saw friendship as a catalyst for personal growth, encouraging the exchange of moral wisdom. Modern psychology validates these ancient intuitions. Longitudinal studies like those from Harvard's Adult Development Study emphasize that close supportive relationships are among the strongest predictors of happiness, health, and even longevity. Regular positive social interactions can buffer against stress, reduce the likelihood of depression, and contribute to a sense of meaning. One might say that these studies embody the Stoic principle that humans are inherently social beings designed to live in synergy rather than isolation. What does it mean to hang out in a Stoic sense? It is not merely about passing time, it is about engaging in quality interactions. Epictetus might advocate for conversations that uplift, challenge, or console rather than shallow exchanges or gossip. A Stoic gathering could involve friends discussing personal challenges, philosophical ideas, or communal issues that spark thoughtful reflection. Or it might simply mean offering genuine care, checking in on how someone is coping with daily stresses, volunteering help when needed, or celebrating each other's milestones with heartfelt congratulations. These acts foster emotional closeness and underscore the mutual support that Stoics see as central to a harmonious society. In an era dominated by digital communications, hanging out face-to-face can feel surprisingly novel. While technology has made it easier to keep in touch with distant friends, it can also limit depth and warmth if it replaces in-person interactions entirely. Stoics would caution against letting convenience overshadow the real human connection we yearn for. If we treat messaging apps as a substitute for genuine companionship, we might find ourselves more isolated despite our endless connectivity. Planning regular meetups. A coffee date, a dinner with family, or a walk with a friend helps keep these relationships vibrant. Some people find socializing draining, especially introverts, but even for those individuals, a few well-chosen interactions with people they appreciate can be profoundly nourishing. Stoicism calls for moderation and self-awareness. If large gatherings prove stressful, smaller group or one-on-one settings might be more comfortable. The overarching goal is not to pressure yourself into forced social scenarios, but to cultivate meaningful ties that sustain you and those around you. Embracing friends and family as part of your Stoic practice may mean actively listening without judgment, offering empathetic responses, and recognizing that sharing experiences fosters connection. In disagreements, a Stoic approach avoids petty battles and focuses on constructive dialogue. By devoting time and energy to nurturing these bonds, you honor the Stoic belief that humans thrive not in isolation, but in concert with one another, pooling insights and emotional support to navigate life's challenges. It is crucial to acknowledge that relationships can be messy. Conflicts arise, misunderstandings occur, and emotional wounds can linger. Stoics do not promise a frictionless life. They simply offer principles for managing adversity with composure. This extends to interpersonal challenges. If you have a falling out with a friend or a family member, a Stoic response might be to reflect on your own role. Could you have responded more kindly? Did your pride or anger exacerbate the conflict? The aim is not self-blame, but honest introspection. Epictetus stressed that while you cannot reshape another person's behavior, you can refine your own. In some instances, bridging the rift may involve an apology, a compromise, or a calm discussion where you clarify your feelings. Quality time also plays a part in strengthening these bonds. If your schedule is perpetually cluttered, Stoic reasoning would encourage you to prioritize. Realize that time is finite, and devoting some of it to maintain relationships reflects your recognition that no achievement stands alone. Celebrations and achievements become far sweeter when shared with those who care about you. Additionally, family and friends can ground you when you are tempted to overinvest in fleeting pursuits. By spending time with people who know you beyond your professional titles or material possessions, you remain connected to a broader sense of self. Moreover, nurturing these connections is an ongoing process, not a one-time event. Stoic consistency applies here. You do not become a good friend or family member simply by appearing at occasional gatherings. You build trust and rapport through repeated acts of kindness, presence, and reliability. Scheduling a weekly phone call with a sibling or hosting a monthly potluck with friends exemplifies how structure can foster deeper ties. The Stoics would appreciate this approach, seeing it as a measured, intentional commitment to living in alignment with human social nature. Interestingly, giving and receiving support in relationships has reciprocal psychological benefits. While helping a friend solve a problem or comforting a grieving relative can be emotionally taxing, it also creates a sense of purpose. Seneca might label it an act of virtue, reinforcing your moral fiber. Meanwhile, being open to receiving help, an often overlooked aspect of strong relationships, cultivates humility and gratitude. You learn to rely on others, which the Stoics argue is not weakness, but an acknowledgement of our shared, interdependent existence. Overall, hanging out with friends and family is not just a casual suggestion for a more enjoyable afternoon. It is a deeply Stoic practice, rooting you in the communal aspects of human life, challenging you to refine your emotional intelligence, and enriching your everyday experiences. In doing so, you weave a safety net of mutual support, fulfilling the ancient Stoic view that people are like limbs of one body, meant to cooperate for the collective good, and to find resilience and joy in each other's company. Practicing kindness toward friends and family is important, but Stoicism extends that generosity toward humanity at large. Epictetus viewed human life as a communal affair, with each of us bearing a responsibility to the broader world. Help others out goes beyond momentary kindness or social niceties. It embodies a worldview that recognizes our fates are interwoven. Whenever you assist someone, whether it is a neighbor struggling with groceries, a co-worker swamped by a project, or a stranger in need of directions, you're honoring the Stoic principle of shared humanity. Moreover, you often find that helping lifts your own spirits, echoing modern research that altruistic acts can relieve stress and engender a sense of belonging and purpose. A crucial distinction here is that Stoicism champions intentional help rather than impulsive or self-serving assistance. The Stoic approach to generosity emphasizes moral clarity. You help because it aligns with virtue, not because you expect repayment or praise. When your motive is pure, rooted in the desire to be of service, you experience a deeper satisfaction that external acknowledgement cannot replicate. Seneca wrote about how generosity is its own reward, forging closer bonds and reminding us of our collective identity. Your good deed should not hinge on whether you receive a thank you card or a social media shout-out. The act stands on its own virtue. In practical terms, helping others can be integrated seamlessly into your daily routines. If you see a problem you can solve or a minor inconvenience you can alleviate, do so without overthinking. This includes intangible forms of assistance, such as listening empathetically when someone vents their frustrations. In workplaces, offering a bit of your expertise can streamline a colleague's project, enhancing the collective results. Over time, these small acts accumulate into a reputation for being dependable and compassionate. While Stoicism warns against chasing reputation for its own sake, it acknowledges that consistent virtue naturally cultivates respect from others. Research in positive psychology consistently finds that altruistic behaviors, be it volunteering at a local shelter or mentoring youths, foster elevated well-being for the giver. These activities can reduce stress, combat feelings of isolation, and even correlate with longer lifespans. The helper's high is a recognized phenomenon where the brain releases endorphins and other feel-good hormones when you act benevolently. Epictetus might say that this neurological benefit mirrors the fundamental Stoic truth: living in accord with nature includes caring for fellow humans, and nature rewards that alignment by granting inner tranquility and joy. Of course, helping others should be balanced with self-care and personal boundaries. Stoicism is not about being so self-sacrificing that you neglect your own responsibilities or well-being. Epictetus highlights the importance of looking after what is within your domain. First, your mind-body, immediate obligations before extending resources to others. If you overextend yourself to the point of burnout, you become less capable of maintaining your own equilibrium, which in turn diminishes your ability to help in the long run. Therefore, wise discernment is key. Assist wholeheartedly, but do not obliterate your own welfare in the process. In summary, help others out reflects a Stoic conviction that we are social organisms interconnected by design. Each act of service you perform, no matter how small, strengthens not only the person you aid, but also your own moral backbone. You affirm the part of yourself that aims to be virtuous, empathetic, and honorable. Over time, these altruistic habits shape your character, forging the resilience and communal harmony so central to the Stoic vision of a life well lived. Another dimension of helping lies in its ripple effects. When you support someone genuinely, you might set off a chain reaction. That individual feeling uplifted and valued may become more motivated to help someone else in turn. This phenomenon resonates with the Stoic idea of sympathia, the notion that all rational beings form one grand community. Marcus Aurelius alluded to this interconnectedness by calling us fellow citizens in the universal sense. If you plant seeds of assistance, generosity, and understanding, those seeds can sprout in unexpected places, and society becomes marginally kinder. In a modern context, technology can both aid and hinder altruistic pursuits. On one hand, digital platforms make it easier to donate, volunteer virtually, or coordinate efforts for a charitable cause. On the other, endless streams of content can create compassion fatigue, where we feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of problems in the world. The Stoic solution is to focus on your sphere of influence, the immediate circle where your actions can have real impact. You might not solve every global crisis, but you can volunteer locally, help a neighbor, or assist a friend going through a rough patch. Epictetus emphasized that acting within your capacity is far more effective than lamenting issues you cannot directly change. Recognizing your personal talents or resources can guide you to the most effective forms of help. Maybe you have teaching skills, a knack for organizing events, or specialized knowledge that could benefit a cause. By aligning your efforts with your strengths, you not only offer higher quality assistance, but also find a sense of fulfillment. Stoics would say that this synergy between your natural abilities and the community's needs is a prime example of living in accordance with nature, fulfilling your potential in ways that also uplift others. Moreover, the Stoic principle of temperance can help you manage any feelings of self-righteousness that might arise from helping. It is easy to slip into vanity, expecting applause or feeling superior because you rendered assistance. But the point, as Epictetus or Seneca might remind us, is the act itself, rooted in virtue, not the ego stroke that might follow. By tempering pride, you keep your motivations pure and maintain the altruistic cycle without turning it into a transaction for recognition. Finally, it is worth noting that helping others can also be an educational process for you. Each person you aid, each struggle you witness, broadens your perspective. You become more aware of life's complexities and gain empathy for different walks of life. This can make you a more patient, flexible individual, reflecting Stoic virtues in daily interactions. In effect, helping is a two-way street. You offer material or emotional support, and in return, you grow in wisdom, compassion, and humility. Qualities that Stoics and contemporary psychology alike hold in high esteem. One of the most enduring themes in Stoic philosophy is gratitude. Seneca put it sharply. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. In an era saturated with consumerism and comparison culture, it is easy to fixate on what you do not have, whether that is a better job, a bigger house, a more fashionable wardrobe, or a more exciting lifestyle. Yet constantly yearning for what lies beyond reach breeds discontent. Stoics instead challenge us to pay attention to our existing blessings. Health, friendships, access to learning, or even small comforts like a warm bed or a morning cup of coffee. By focusing on what is present, we shift from a narrative of lack to one of abundance, unlocking a powerful key to sustainable happiness. Modern psychologists and neuroscientists echo this sentiment, pointing out that regular expressions of gratitude can reshape neural pathways, nudging the brain toward a more optimistic outlook. Studies have shown that people who keep a gratitude journal for just a few weeks report fewer physical ailments, improved mental well-being, and a stronger sense of connection to others. This resonates strongly with the Stoic practice of daily reflection, during which a philosopher might recount the day's events and note reasons for thankfulness. Indeed, Marcus Aurelius himself started mornings by reminding himself of the privilege it was simply to be alive, able to think, learn, love, and serve. Focusing on the good stuff requires deliberate attention, since human perception often skews negative. As a survival mechanism, our ancestors had to stay vigilant against threats. Overcoming this bias takes conscious effort. If you consistently direct your mind to your home-stable relationships or the skills you have cultivated, you can recast the lens through which you see daily life. This does not mean ignoring genuine problems or brushing off hardship. Stoicism, after all, is realistic about pain and challenges. However, it advocates for balance, acknowledging trials, but also celebrating the positives that persist in spite of them. One practical way to cultivate gratitude is to set aside a moment, perhaps at bedtime, to enumerate 3 things that went well during the day or 3 aspects of your life for which you are grateful. They need not be grand. You might be thankful for a friendly chat, a tasty meal, or simply feeling well rested. Another method championed by some psychologists is the gratitude letter, where you write to someone you have never properly thanked. While you do not necessarily have to send it, the act of composing it promotes an awareness of how others have contributed to your well-being. In Stoic thought, gratitude also guards against envy and resentment, emotions that corrode inner peace. If you perpetually measure your life against curated images on social media or compare your salary to peers' dissatisfaction, is a likely outcome. Yet the moment you pivot attention to your actual blessings, your progress, your supportive friends, or your creative passions, those negative comparisons lose power. The contrast between the external illusions of others' perfect lives and your own incomplete narrative dissolves when you realize your life too contains rich and meaningful elements. Gratitude extends beyond personal well-being. It also fosters generosity and humility, linking it to many of the other Stoic lessons. When you see how much you already possess, you become more inclined to share resources or knowledge. You also develop a sense of modesty, recognizing that good fortune often stems from factors beyond your control: family upbringing, social context, or luck. Thus, a grateful mindset can lead to kinder interactions, less arrogance, and a deeper appreciation for life's fragility. On both personal and interpersonal levels, focusing on what is good and stable in your life can significantly increase resilience, exactly what the Stoics sought to cultivate. Of course, it is possible to practice gratitude poorly, turning it into empty platitudes or forced positivity. Stoicism does not advocate ignoring injustice or personal goals. Indeed, a Stoic can remain grateful for existing blessings while still striving to improve broader circumstances. The difference is that you do so from a place of appreciation rather than insatiable discontent. For instance, you might recognize the comfort of your current living situation while also noting that you aspire to a new career or more space in your home. This form of ambition is fueled by growth, not desperation. In day-to-day life, watch out for moments when you reflexively think, "I wish I had X." Pause and pivot, examine what you already have that fulfills a portion of that same need. If you catch yourself envying a neighbor's new car, step back and appreciate the reliability of your own vehicle or the convenience of public transport, if that is your reality. Stoics have long argued that comparing ourselves to others is a fundamental source of unhappiness because it locates our satisfaction in external circumstances beyond our direct control. By focusing on your own life's positives, you wrest back that control to your internal domain, your perspective. Moreover, gratitude can serve as a coping mechanism during difficulties. Suppose you are temporarily unemployed or coping with health issues. A Stoic perspective would not deny these hardships. It would encourage you to accept them as part of life's flux. Yet in parallel, you focus on other aspects that remain stable or beneficial, such as supportive friends, the chance to pivot in your career, or the sheer fact that medical resources exist. This approach fosters hope and creative problem-solving as you are not overwhelmed by a singular negative event, but simultaneously buoyed by the awareness of good still present. Gratitude also dissolves the tendency to take everyday comforts for granted. Simple joys, drinking clean water, reading a good book, or hearing a child's laughter, become conscious reminders of life's inherent gifts. Each day brims with small wonders, often overshadowed by routines or stress. Stoicism invites you to slow down noticing and savoring these micro moments. This shift in perception can be transformative, amplifying contentment without requiring major external changes. Even interacting with nature or pets can stoke gratitude. Observing a sunset, planting a seed, and watching it grow, or receiving unconditional affection from an animal can jolt you into realizing how much beauty and warmth exist independently of human agendas. After all, the Stoics believe that nature is a grand teacher, and immersing yourself in it can reinforce your sense of cosmic perspective and appreciation. Overall, focusing on the good stuff you already have is a gentle but potent discipline. It shapes your inner narrative, fosters resilience, and anchors you in a present moment, often teeming with overlooked blessings. Properly done, it strengthens both your mental health and your moral fabric. In synergy with the other Stoic-inspired habits like laughing, more taking breaks, or turning off your phone, it rounds out a life philosophy anchored in recognizing life's inherent gifts, while still striving to meet challenges with grace and poise. If you have ever nursed a grudge, you know it can be a heavy, persistent burden. Replaying the hurt or injustice over and over can keep you stuck in anger, preventing emotional wounds from healing. While some measure of initial anger might be natural and even protective, clinging to it long-term erodes your peace. Stoic philosophers repeatedly spoke of the self-destructive nature of resentment. Epictetus warned that harboring negative emotions toward someone effectively grants them power over your mind, since your thoughts revolve around their actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to refuse to become like those who wrong you, implying that letting grudges fester drags you closer to their negative behavior. Contemporary psychology supports this view. Studies on forgiveness indicate that letting go of resentment not only lowers stress and anxiety, but also can improve cardiovascular health and reduce depression. Holding on to anger keeps the body in fight-or-flight mode, overproducing stress hormones like cortisol, which can harm various bodily systems over time. Emotional release, sometimes facilitated through therapy, journaling, or introspection, liberates mental resources and fosters a sense of resolution. In short, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself as much as, or more than, a benefit to the other person. Yet letting go of a grudge can be difficult. People often confuse forgiveness with condoning wrongdoing. Stoics would clarify that forgiving is not excusing. It is simply acknowledging that to move forward, you must release the gnawing anger that keeps you tied to the past. Accepting that someone hurt you does not absolve them, but it does free you from perpetually carrying their wrongdoing inside your psyche. Epictetus might say that the event belongs to the external realm. What happened is done, but your reaction continues in the internal realm, something you can alter. Another hurdle is pride. A sense of moral superiority can come from holding a grudge as if you are punishing the offender by refusing to forgive. But from a Stoic perspective, you are punishing yourself. You chain your peace of mind to external injustice, an approach that runs counter to the Stoic directive to maintain internal equilibrium. True moral fortitude arises from acknowledging harm, but not letting it dictate your mental and emotional state. If someone fails to repent, or even denies the harm that is beyond your control, your domain is your own heart and mind. Letting go of grudges also does not rule out setting boundaries. If the other person's behavior remains harmful, you do not have to keep them close just because you have chosen to stop resenting them. Stoicism endorses prudent boundary setting as part of self-care and reasoned living. In fact, turning a grudge into a stepping stone for establishing healthy limits is an act of wisdom. You can forgive what transpired and still decide that the relationship or situation is no longer conducive to your well-being. Ultimately, the Stoic path to releasing grudges is both logical and empathetic. You free your mind from corrosive rumination and cultivate compassion for human fallibility. No one is perfect. We all err, and that includes ourselves. Understanding this universal imperfection fosters empathy, a sentiment rooted in the Stoic notion that we are all part of a larger human family. Moving on from old resentments paves the way for a lighter, clearer mental landscape, the hallmark of a Stoic in control of their internal narrative. When resentment lingers, it can leak into other parts of life, overshadowing otherwise positive experiences or sabotaging new relationships. Stoics would classify such spillover as a loss of personal freedom. You become a prisoner to an event or individual from your past. The process of letting go, therefore, reclaims your ability to experience the present fully. This aligns well with modern therapeutic approaches that encourage recognizing triggers and mindfully releasing them rather than repeatedly reliving old traumas. Practical steps toward releasing a grudge can mirror other Stoic exercises. First, acknowledge the anger you feel. Stoicism never advocates denial. It calls for honest self-examination. Next, reflect on whether continuing to harbor resentment is beneficial or simply a drain on your emotional energy. A helpful question might be, does holding this grudge improve my well-being, or does it keep me stuck? Write down the pros and cons if necessary, clarifying the destructive toll grudges can exact. Then you might practice an active gesture of forgiveness, crafting a letter you do not send, speaking aloud your intent to move on, or consulting a counselor who can guide you through the process. Additionally, cultivating empathy can accelerate the journey away from grudges. This might involve imagining the offender's perspective, not to justify their actions, but to see them as flawed, possibly suffering, or ignorant individuals. Marcus Aurelius advised reminding oneself that people often do wrong out of misunderstanding or lack of moral development. This does not make their wrongdoing acceptable, but it can open a space for empathy, which undercuts the sting of bitterness. Some Stoic interpreters suggest a technique known as negative visualization to facilitate forgiveness. By picturing how life would be if you or your loved ones erred in a similar way, realizing that nobody is immune to mistakes, a sense of proportion emerges. You see that we are all vulnerable to lapses in judgment or moments of weakness. This realization can stir compassion and a renewed commitment to live more virtuously oneself, thus breaking the cycle of hurt and retribution. Letting go of grudges also fosters psychological growth. Through adversity, you gain insights into your own boundaries, values, and emotional triggers. You might emerge with greater self-awareness about what you will tolerate in future relationships or how you might handle a similar conflict more gracefully. Therefore, parting with resentment is not merely an end to negativity. It can become a transformation point where you refine your moral and emotional sensibilities. This culminating sense of self-improvement resonates deeply with Stoic ideals of turning obstacles into stepping stones for inner growth. In the end, releasing a grudge is an act of liberation. You lighten your inner load, reclaim mental bandwidth for constructive pursuits, and honor the Stoic principle that you alone govern your emotional well-being. Far from being a passive acceptance of injustice, letting go is a proactive stance of choosing not to be shackled by the past. In doing so, you embody the Stoic legacy of resilience, rational perspective, and compassion, a legacy that can indeed elevate everyday life. Across these 13 interconnected practices, laughter, immersing in nature, becoming a morning person, planning your day, persisting in passions, expressing kindness, saying yes to new adventures, disconnecting from devices, taking breaks, bonding with loved ones, helping your community, nurturing gratitude, and releasing grudges, both ancient Stoic thought and modern psychological research converge on a central insight. Happiness is largely an inside job. Although external circumstances do matter, we need basic security, health, and social connection. The Stoics emphasize that our reactions and interpretations play an equally significant, if not more crucial, role in determining our mental and emotional well-being. At the core of Stoicism lies the imperative to discern what you can control, your own mind choices and moral intentions, and to gracefully accept what you cannot. Each of the practices we have explored serves as a tool for harnessing that self-governance. Laughter helps reframe adversity and lowers stress. Nature time resets our perspective and reminds us of the broader currents of life. And becoming a morning person can instill a daily rhythm that promotes calm and productivity. Planning your day ensures that you align actions with values rather than drifting in reaction mode. Persistence in what you love fosters a deep sense of purpose, even when obstacles appear, echoing the Stoic conviction that adversity can be a stepping stone to growth. Similarly, kindness and helping others do not merely benefit the recipients. They enrich the giver's sense of unity with humanity. Saying yes to opportunities combats stagnation and fear-based avoidance, while turning off your phone occasionally grants space for real-life connections and self-reflection. Breaks and getaways rejuvenate mind and body, essential for maintaining Stoic equilibrium amidst the hustle. Time with friends and family nurtures emotional bonds that can fortify you against life's storms, while focusing on gratitude trains your mind to see blessings often drowned out by daily stress. Finally, letting go of grudges releases you from self-imposed chains of bitterness, enabling a lighter spirit. Psychological studies on well-being increasingly affirm these practices. Gratitude journaling, mindful breaks, consistent morning routines, altruistic behavior, and forging real social ties all correlate with emotional resilience, lower levels of depression, and higher overall life satisfaction. By weaving these actions into your daily routine, you effectively turn your life into a laboratory for Stoic principles, bridging ancient philosophy with the demands of contemporary existence. Importantly, none of this requires an overnight transformation or the pursuit of perfection. Stoicism is about progress, steady, mindful efforts to improve how you interact with your own thoughts and the world around you. Seneca famously stated, "While we teach, we learn," implying that every step we take to implement these ideas deepens our understanding of them. You might begin with a single practice, like adding a gratitude reflection to your bedtime routine or deciding to wake up 15 minutes earlier for a brief meditation. As these changes become habits, you may notice subtle shifts, less reactivity, more contentment, and a growing readiness to face challenges calmly. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to happiness suggests that while life is inherently uncertain, we can cultivate an internal architecture that is resilient, ethical, and attuned to what truly matters. By laughing more, connecting with nature, being kinder, saying yes to life's invitations, and avoiding prolonged grudges, we reclaim sovereignty over our own emotions. We develop the fortitude to thrive even when external conditions are less than ideal, and that by both ancient and modern standards is the very heart of durable happiness. In the end, Mark's transformative journey offers a refreshing perspective. Happiness isn't something you chase, it's something you build from the inside out day by day. Personally, I find it incredibly empowering to know that small habits like laughter, reconnecting with nature, and letting go of grudges can bring immense fulfillment and peace. Especially in today's world where burnout, stress, and digital overload often dominate our days, these practices offer a clear path to reclaiming joy and balance. Now I'm turning the conversation over to you. Have you tried any of these techniques in your own life? Perhaps a gratitude journal, a nature walk, or even digital detox? I'd love to hear your experiences or any questions you might have. Drop them in the comments below. Let's start a conversation and inspire each other to live better, happier lives.